نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. Bismillah. So inshallah today we'll continue from ayat number 13. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. فإذا نفخ في الصور نفخة واحدة. Then when the horn is blown with one blast. So in this ayah, let's understand the word sur. So that comes in narration, narrated by Abdullah bin Amr in Tirmidhi. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was asked by an Arabi. So the Arabi said, Ya Rasulullah, ma sur? Qala, qarnun yunfakhu fihi. So Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was asked, what is sur? And he replied, a horn which is blown into. So time and again, we see this concept come in Quran about sur. So let's understand what that means. So as it is narrated in this hadith, sur actually means a horn or trumpet, and it will be blown into near the day of judgment. There will be two blows into it. The first one is called nafkhatul ula or as-sayq, and the second one is nafkhatul thani or al-ba'th. So the first one, the first trumpet, nafkhatul ula, when it is blown, it will cause all humans, jinns and animals on earth to become unconscious and die. And this goes even to the angels in heavens, and they have the same effect. And when the second trumpet is blown, nafkhatul thani, then it will make the dead rise for reckoning and accountability. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Zumar, وَنُفِخَ فِي الصُّورِ فَصَعِقَ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا مَنْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ ثُمَّ نُفِخَ فِيهِ أُخْرَى فَإِذَا هُمْ قِيَامٌ يَنْظُرُونَ. And the trumpet will be blown, and all those who are in the heavens and all those who are on earth will fall dead, except him whom Allah wills. Then it will be blown another time, and at once they will be standing looking on. You will find in some books there's a mention of a third trumpet which will be blown before the first two trumpets, and it is referred to as nafkhatul faza, the trumpet of fright or panic. So ulama explained that there are in fact only two trumpets, but the first one has two stages. So the first stage is faza, meaning panic, and the second stage is sa', meaning death. So to summarize, there are two trumpets. The first one has two stages, and the second one is nafkhatul ba'th. We are all dead because Allah knows best. The next ayah, وَحُمِّلَتِ الْأَرْضُ وَالْجِبَالُ فَدُكَّتَا دَكَّةً وَاحِدَةً فَيَوْمَئِذٍ وَقَعَتِ الْوَاقِعَةُ وَانشَقَّتِ السَّمَاءُ فَهِيَ يَوْمَئِذٍ وَاهِيَةٌ. And the earth and the mountains are lifted and leveled with one blow, with one strike. Then on that day, the occurrence, the waqiyah, which is another name for qiyamah, as we talked about the other day, will occur. And the heaven will split open for the day. For that day, it will be very fair. So this is also mentioned, this idea of opening of the skies is mentioned in Surah Naba, وَفُتِحَتِ السَّمَاءُ فَكَانَتْ أَبْوَابًا, and the heaven is opened and will become gateways. وَالْمَلَكُ عَلَىٰ أَرْجَائِهَا وَيَحْمِلُ عَرْشَ رَبِّكَ فَوْقَهُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ ثَمَانِيَةٌ. And the angels will be on its sides, and 8 angels will that day bear the throne of your Lord above them. So here the word arsh, what is the nature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's throne? I mean, this is again among the mutashabihat, as we discussed, similar to the concept of Allah's hand and Allah's chair. And we cannot fathom how that looks. And similarly, we cannot understand how 8 angels will carry the throne. This is beyond our intellect and understanding. But to give an example of the size of these angels we are talking about here that are carrying the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it comes in a narration by Jabir bin Abdullah anhu in Sunan Abi Dawud. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, I have been permitted to tell you about one of Allah's angels who bears the throne, that the distance between the lobe of his ear and his shoulder is a journey of 700 years. So such is the magnitude and the size of these angels. And this is just an approximation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, is telling us it could be just between the lobe and the shoulder, the journey could be 700 years. So of course we understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, going back to the idea of Arsh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is beyond time, space, and matter. So we neither question the reality of these concepts, nor we try to rationalize them. We simply believe upon them. The next ayah, يَوْمَئِذٍ تُعْرَضُونَ لَا تَخْفَى مِنْكُمْ خَافِيَةٌ. That day shall you be brought to judgment, and not a secret of you will be hidden. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows all of our secrets even today, but that day He will expose them. Our book of deeds with all what we did in public or private will be exposed. And this could also mean, in a different way, that there will be no place to hide on the day of judgment, since the entire ground will be leveled as plain field. There will be no caves, mountains, buildings, trees, or barriers. So in that sense, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be exposing everything that is physically hidden today. Narrated by Abu Musa Ashari in Ibn Majah, it comes that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, يُعْرَضُ النَّاسُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ ثَلَاثَ عَرَضَاتٍ فَأَمَّا عَرَضَتَانِ فَجِدَالٌ وَمَعَالِيٌ وَأَمَّا الثَّالِثَةُ فَعِنْدَ ذَلِكَ تَطِيرُ الصُّحُفُ بِالْأَيْدِي فَآخِذٌ بِيَمِينِهِ وَآخِذٌ بِشِمَالِهِ. So the people will be presented before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 3 times on the day of judgment, on the day of resurrection. First 2 times will be for disputes and excuses to settle any matters there. And the 3rd time will be when the scrolls of deed fly into their hands. So some will take it in the right hand and some will take it with the left. And we'll see that coming in the next few ayahs as well. So let's take a look at the brief summary between ayahs 13 and 18 that we reviewed today. So it talks about the major events on the day of judgment and the fact that there will be trumpet blown around that time. The throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is carried by 8 angels, and the fact that we would be standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for reckoning. Ayat number 19. فَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ فَيَقُولُ هَاؤُمُ اقْرَءُوا كِتَابِيَهْ. So as for he who is given his record in his right hand, he will say, here, read my record. The word ha'um literally means come, but idiomatically it is used here in the meaning of take it or khudu. So this person who gets the book of deed in his right hand will be so joyous, so elated in happiness that he will go around showing to people and say, here, take my book, read it. Again, this sort of joy of his success that day. And in today's world, you can take an analogy similar to how someone, when they pass a major exam, they share their success on social media, LinkedIn or otherwise. They put even a link to their certificate, just enjoy and boast of the success and announcing it for others to go check it out. So that day, same thing. People who got their book in the right hand will be showing off to others, look, we are the ones who are successful, and they'll be so joyful. And of course, the joy on the book of deeds given in the right hand, is similar to an example I gave in this one, but much more meaningful. It is a matter of eternal success. So there is no comparison possible to any worldly achievement. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those who get the book of deeds in the right hand. Ameen. Inni dhanantu anni mulaqin hisabiya. Indeed, I was certain I would be meeting my account. فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ. So he will be in a pleasant life. فِي جَنَّةٍ عَالِيَةٍ. In an elevated garden. So here the word aliyah, elevated garden, is meaning the garden will be such that it would have elevated castles, it would have pleasant places and eternal joy. And again, a lot of matters of akhirah are beyond our comprehension. But just to give you a perspective of Jannah, as it is narrated to us by Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It comes in Tirmidhi, narrated by Ubadah bin Samit. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, في الجنة 100 درجة ما بين كل درجتين كما بين السماء والأرض والفردوس أعلاها درجة ومنها تفجر أنهار الجنة الأربعة ومن فوقها يكون العرش فإذا سألتم الله فسألوه الفردوس. In paradise, there are 100 levels. What is between every two levels is like what is between the heavens and the earth. Al-Firdaus is its highest level, and from it the 4 rivers of paradise are made to flow forth. So when you ask Allah, ask Him for Al-Firdaus. So this is the advice Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gives us. You should aim for the highest. I mean, we should be attempting in our daily life to achieve the best. I mean, we have the desire to do it in this world, to always be the best, to be the number one in any matters. So similarly, when you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for paradise, and there are 100 levels, ask for the topmost level, which is the Firdaus. And inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant us to us. قطوفها دانية. Its fruits in bunches will be low and near at hand. كلوا واشربوا هنيئا بما أسلفتم في الأيام الخالية. They will be told, eat and drink at ease for that which you have sent on before you in days past. وأما من أوتي كتابه بشماله فيقول يا ليتني لم أوت كتابيا. But as for he who is given his record in his left hand, he will say, I wish I had not been given my record. وَلَمْ أَدْرِ مَا حِسَابِيَ. And that I had never known what my account is. يَا لَيْتَهَا كَانَتِ الْقَاضِيَةِ. I wish it, meaning his death, had been the decisive one. So Qatada makes an interesting comparison here that this person who will be given a book in his left hand, he will ask for death at that time. And this is the same person who, when he was busy in this worldly life, I mean, he despised death. He despised that event because that would lead him to meet Allah, or that would lead him to, even if he does not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or resurrection, he would believe that this is the end of his experience in this world. So he would hate that in life when he was in this world. But because of the eternal failure he is going to have after he gets a book in his left hand, he would just wish that he would be dead completely. So these verses that we just went through, which are very descriptive in terms of what happens when someone is given a book of deed in his right hand, and for a person who gets his book of deed in his left hand. So they're giving us a very strong message. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking his time to describe successful people and failures. And how will they feel? How will they react when the verdict is given to them in the form of a book? And this verdict is the final one. And there's no appeal. There's no other court where this decision can be overturned. Whatever got decided that day is ultimate, is final. So notice when a person gets book of deed in his right hand, he will say, I always believed I will be put to account. So this person was very cautious throughout his life about his actions. He knew he will be held accountable. He did not take a careless attitude towards life. He was always thinking about whether whatever I do next is going to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or is going to displease him. And compare that to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about the person when he will be given the book of deeds in left hand. He wished that never happened. And he would express how he lived throughout his life without considering that he will put to account. He was heedless. And in fact, as we all understand, once there is no sense of accountability, you can do anything. And so committing sins becomes easy because of lack of any fear of repercussion. So brothers, we see in this world in front of our own eyes, newborns coming to life and people of all ages, gender, and religion leaving this world. I mean, this is a daily event, a regular occurrence. Just from personal experience, last week I attended the funeral of our neighbor's father passing away. As I was in the graveyard with the two grieving sons of the deceased, it just hits you home. I mean, this matter is serious. I mean, our time of action is limited, and our time of departure is unknown. So many of us see it, and yet we do not change our own behavior. We hear about news of someone's death, and it doesn't click to us that I have to go too. Soon, very soon, I have to go too. Let's make a genuine effort to stop doing what displeases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And everyone has to fight their own challenges and, of course, your own very nafs. I mean, for some, it could be stop watching Netflix movies or TV dramas. It could be to stop listening to music or lip singing useless songs. It could be leaving any delicacy of tongue or substance which is forbidden. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Fussilat, حتى إذا ما جاءوها شهد عليهم سمعهم وأبصارهم وجلودهم بما كانوا يعملون. Until when they reach it, their hearing and their eyes and their skins will testify against them of what they used to do. So whatever we are doing today in our daily life and whatever our organs are doing, whether they're watching things that are harmful, that are forbidden, eating things, or enjoying the delicacy of different things that are forbidden, or even our actions or our steps going towards something that is haram. All these things, our ears listening to music or other forms that are unacceptable to hear, all of that is getting recorded. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make these organs, these parts of our body speak and testify against us. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, as narrated by Ibn Abbas in Bayhaqi, اغتنم خمسا قبل خمس شبابك قبل حرمك وصحتك قبل سقمك وغناك قبل فقرك وفراغك قبل شغلك وحياتك قبل موتك. Take advantage of the 5 before 5. Your youth before your old age, your health before your illness, your riches before your poverty, your free time before your work, and your life before your death. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open our eyes in this world before they get closed. Ameen. Let's make dua for those passed away and for our own self. Allahumma ighfir li hayyina wa mayyitina wa shahidina wa ghaibina wa saghirina wa kabirina wa dhakrina wa unthana. Allahumma man ahyaytahu minna fa ahyi ala al-islam wa man tawaffaytahu minna wa fatawaffahu ala al-iman. O Allah, forgive our living and our dead, those who are present and those who are absent, our young and our old, our males and our females. O Allah, whoever of us yet caused to live, let him live in Islam. And whoever of us you caused to die, let him die in a state of faith. Ameen. Moving on to the next ayah. Ma aghna anni maliya. My wealth has not availed me. Halaka anni sultaniya. Gone from me is my authority. So the word sultan or sultaniya refers to literally power. So a government or a state is called sultana, and the ruler is called sultan because they have the power. So what this is referring to is that in this world, you see dictators, kings, presidents, and other leaders who have the power to perpetrate injustice and commit atrocities. General population and masses find themselves helpless in front of such oppressors. But in the hereafter, their power will vanish. They will not be able to use power to avoid consequences. Another way to look at sultan, or the meaning of sultan, is any proof or argument. So in that context, the words will mean there will be no argument in favor of such people protecting against punishment. خُذُوهُ فَغُلُّوهُ ثُمَّ الْجَحِيمَ صَلُّوهُ ثُمَّ فِي سِلْسِلَةٍ ذَرْعُهَا 70 ذِرَاعًا فَاسْلُكُوهُ إِنَّهُ كَانَ لَا يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ الْعَظِيمِ وَلَا يَحُضُّ عَلَى طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, seize him and shackle him, then throw him in the blazing fire, then fasten him on a chain whose length is 70 cubits. Indeed, he did not used to believe in Allah, the Most Great, nor did he encourage the feeding of the poor. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is mentioning the crime of these people in this world. They neither established the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon them, nor did they benefited other creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that we worship Him alone and do not associate anything with Him. And similarly, the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also have rights over each other, that they treat with righteousness and piety as it is reflected in the pillars of Islam, Salah, which is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Zakah, which is for other people. So the two lessons we get from here is the reason for their punishment of disbelievers in hell is they did not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the second reason is that such a person did not encourage feeding the poor or encouraging even others to do the same. فَلَيْسَ لَهُ الْيَوْمَ هَاهُنَا حَمِيمٌ وَلَا طَعَامٌ إِلَّا مِنْ غِسْلِينٍ لَا يَأْكُلُهُ إِلَّا الْخَاطِئُونَ. So this day he has no devoted friends. Hamim means a sincere friend. So in this world you can get help from your close friend, but on Day of Judgment, no friend will be able to provide any relief. وَلَا طَعَامٌ إِلَّا مِنْ غِسْلِينٍ, nor any food except from the discharge of wounds. لَا يَأْكُلُهُ إِلَّا الْخَاطِئُونَ, none will eat except the sinners. So the word ghislin refers to the washing, the filthy fluid of pus and wounds. And that will be the food for people in hell. And this verse says that they will not have any food. And in another verse, we learn that they will be eating a food called zaqqum, as it comes in Surah Al-Haqqah. لَآكِلُونَ مِنْ شَجَرٍ مِنْ زَقُّومٍ, they will be eating from the trees of zaqqum. So there is an apparent contradiction here, but in reality, there isn't any contradiction. Why? Because ta'amun refers to eating enjoyable food in this verse. And eating zaqqum will not be enjoyable. And just to get the sense of what zaqqum is and why it's not a treat or a enjoyable food. Narrated by Ibn Abbas in Ibn Majah, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, وَلَوْ أَنَّ قَطْرَةً مِنَ الزُّقُّومِ قُتِلَتْ فِي الْأَرْضِ لَأَفْسَدَتْ على أهل الدنيا معيشتهم فكيف بمن ليس له طعام غيره. If a drop of zaqqum were to be dropped on earth, it would ruin the livelihood of the people of this world. So how about those who have no food other than it? So let's review what we have just read in terms of ayahs. So one, الدنيا مزرعة الآخرة. Whatever you sow here, it will be what you reap in the akhirah. So your actions here matter and will result in the outcome you will see at the end of life, the Day of Judgment. Also, the fact that if you believe in the reckoning, it will make your actions sober. You will be careful about what you do. And in the Day of Judgment, your wealth here or worldly status cannot save from any torment of the hereafter. All those will be inert. They have no power, no value. And the rights of Allah are important, and so rights of people. To worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone and to help others in need. And finally, as we've discussed before, punishment of hell are severe. So even if someone lives just a moment in the hellfire, it's enough to be afraid of. فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِمَا تُبْصِرُونَ وَمَا لَا تُبْصِرُونَ. So I swear by what you see and what you do not see. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking an oath on all creations, whether we see them or not. And another way to look at this is some say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking a swear on what you don't see, which is referring to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself and his attributes. And others say what you see means things of this world, and what you don't see refers to things of the hereafter. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. إِنَّهُ لَقَوْلُ رَسُولٍ كَرِيمٍ. That indeed it, the Quran, is the word of a noble messenger. And here messenger is referring to Jibreel alayhi salam. As we also know, he's referred to by this Rasul Kareem term in Surah Takwir. إِنَّهُ لَقَوْلُ رَسُولٍ كَرِيمٍ ذِي قُوَّةٍ عِنْدَ ذِي الْعَرْشِ مَكِينٍ مُطَاعٍ ثَمَّ أَمِينٍ وَمَا هُوَ بِقَوْلِ الشَّاعِرِ قَلِيلًا مَا تُؤْمِنُونَ. And it is not the word of a poet. Little do you believe. وَلَا بِقَوْلِ كَاهِنٍ قليلا ما تذكرون. Nor the word of a soothsayer, little do you remember. تنزيل من رب العالمين. It is a revelation from the Lord of the worlds. ولو تقول علينا بعد الأقاويل. And if he, meaning Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, had forged a false saying upon us, لأخذنا منه باليمين, we would have seized him by the right hand. ثم لقطعنا منه الوتين, then we would have cut the aorta from him. فما منكم من أحد عنه حاجزين, and none of you would have prevented it from him. So the word aqawil refers to fabricating something. And watin here means the aorta, which is the main artery of humans. So what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying is, He's refuting the outrageous claims of disbelievers. So the disbelievers accused of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam being a poet or a soothsayer. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, by using very strong language here, that even if Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was to na'udhu billah fabricated Quran, he would have been dealt with fiercely. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have imposed upon him a violent death. I mean, cutting aorta is death immediately. I mean, there's an instantaneous death. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have imposed a violent death. Of course, this is referring to a hypothetical situation. We know that the stature of a Nabi, a prophet, is beyond such possibility, and such an act is unimaginable for Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing the severity of saying lies on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Such is the punishment that even if a Nabi was to do this, he would be dealt with fiercely. وَإِنَّهُ لَتَذْكِرَةٌ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. And indeed, the Quran is a reminder for the righteous, as it comes in Surah Fussilat also. قُلْ هُوَ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا هُدًى وَشِفَاءٌ وَالَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ فِي آذَانِهِمْ وَقْرٌ وَهُمْ عَلَيْهِمْ عَمْيٌ. So it is for those who believe a guidance and cure, and those who do not believe, in their ears is deafness, and it is upon them blindness. وَإِنَّا لَنَعْلَمُ أَنَّ مِنكُمْ مُكَذِّبِينَ وَإِنَّهُ لَحَسْرَةٌ عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ وَإِنَّهُ لَحَقُّ الْيَقِينِ فَسَبِّحْ بِاسْمِ رَبِّكَ الْعَظِيمِ. And indeed, we know that among you are deniers, and indeed it will be a cause of regret upon disbelievers. And verily it, Quran, is an absolute truth with certainty. So glorify the name of your Lord, the Most Great. So here, I mean, even though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given explanation and clarification about Quran being the true guidance, there will still be people among you who reject it. And when it comes to the rejection, I mean, in the next ayah, وَإِنَّهُ لَحَسَّةٌ عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ. So here, Qatada and Jarir says this is actually referring to rejection, but another meaning could be the Quran could become also a regret for them. And finally, towards the end, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reaffirmed that Quran is the ultimate truth, not tampered with anyone's desires or whims. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is advised at the end not to pay attention to the criticism of disbelievers, not to concern himself with such absurdities, rather engage in glorifying and praising his Lord. As it comes in Surah Hajj, وَلَقَدْ نَعْلَمُ أَنَّكَ يَضِيقُ صَدْرُكَ بِمَا يَقُولُونَ وَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَكُن مِّنَ السَّاجِدِينَ. And you already know that your breast is constrained by what they say. So glorify the praises of your Lord and be of those who prostrate themselves to Him. And it comes in narration, narrated by Uqba bin Amir and Sunan Nabi Dawud. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لما نزلت فسبح باسم ربك العظيم قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم اجعلوها في ركوعكم فلما نزلت سبح اسم ربك الأعلى قال اجعلوها في سجودكم. So when these ayats were revealed, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam advised us to start saying these kalimat in ruku, that we say Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, and then in the sajda also Subhana Rabbi al-Ala. So to end off the surah, just to summarize the message in the last few ayats, Quran is a divine revelation. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is neither a poet nor a soothsayer. Falsifying upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has serious consequences. And of course, we have to establish the tasbih in ruku. Subhana Rabbi al-Azim. We'll stop here, inshallah. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم.